Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today, I'm going to do a project I haven't done before. I've got some new materials I'm going to work with today, and I'm going to see how those work out with leather. And today's project is a single point sling made out of nylon seatbelt material, super strong, and then it's also made out of some nylon strapping and leather, and then some plastic snaps or closures, so quick release closures so you can take it off and on. What we're going to actually put this on today is an RA22A. So that's the project for the day. We're going to see how it works out. Never done anything like this before, so come on in and let's get started. All right, so I've got a couple of nylon straps that I cut out of utility straps, like for camping and hiking type materials, and they were wider, so I cut them down. Then I burnt the edges of them to seal them off so they won't fray. There's a little spot there I missed, and it's really easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of heat to do that. Then what I did was I made just a little shield design out of leather, and I put my logo on there, or my brand, and then that ended up being 2 inches wide by 3 inches tall. And I went by the actual strap, the nylon strap or the seatbelt material, and it was 1 7/8 wide. So again, this is for quick single point carry, to be able to respond quickly, whether you're using it for hunting or whatever purposes. I want to be able to put this on my, or one like it, on my pellet rifle also. So I've got the plastic quick clips, so that's how I'll attach it from the RA22A to this strap, and I'll attach this to this strap, and then one of these ends to that through the small strap, and then I'll do the small strap on this too. So it'll be a quick disconnect. If you want to disconnect it, I'll show you how I'm going to do this on my body. So let's go ahead and get started. And I made this out of about a 10-ounce piece of veg tan leather, and I beveled the edges, I burnished the edges, I dyed it black, and then cut these 2 little grooves in here for my strap to go through, and then I'll secure it. And then I'm going to secure this strap also up here, and it'll go through the leather and through the strap itself. So I'll be doing that all by stitching. So there is some stitching to this. I'll be using 2 needles and doing a saddle stitch because I think that's a lot stronger than a single stitch. So I'll pull out 2 needles and then I'll use some black waxed sinew. So let's go ahead and get started on this. I think the first thing I want to do is go ahead and attach this and I think I want to go through the front on this, so I'll put that strap through the top slot from the back and the bottom slot from the back, and then let's go ahead and match those up. I'm not sure how important that's going to be when we get down to putting it on the snap piece, but let's go ahead and put this on top of a piece of backer leather, and I'll go ahead and put my stitching holes in it because I'm going to stitch through both pieces of the nylon and through the leather. So let's go ahead and take a 4-prong punch, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and do like a triangle right here. And I want to make sure I have those holes all the way through. Then I can go ahead and come down toward the point and then back the other direction. So what I've got, what I end up with there is a triangle that I'll stitch through. That's going to make that real nice and strong. Now, you could do it however you want. I don't think it matters whether you go through the front, the back, whatever. That's totally up to you. As I always say, that's personal preference on a lot of this stuff. So let's go ahead and thread my first needle. Take the other end, thread my second needle. I want to make sure those are pretty close to how much thread I have hanging out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over so I go through the leather first. I'm going to start in the corner. It goes through the nylon very easy, so we'll go match those 2 needles, pull that through and match those 2 needles up. Then we'll take the second needle and go through the second hole. through the nylon. Snug that up. Now I can take the first needle and pass it through the second hole that I just pulled the other needle through. And then what that does is that creates my first complete saddle stitch. So then I can start from there. I've got a complete saddle stitch there. I'm keeping this snug down, this nylon, as I stitch it. I don't want it to be loose up here. And it is, you are kind of going at it a little blind when you're going through the nylon because you can't see your hole in your leather. But you've only got 4 holes there, so it's not that difficult to find it. So then I'll just continue, and you could always pull this back if you needed to look. And I've got I've got one more hole there. I've got 4 on each angle or each side of that triangle. So you can see it's not that difficult to find those holes. And I'm snugging those down real good. And that's going to make me a really nice tight stitch. Then I can go ahead, I'm at the end of the top, I can go ahead and start working my way down the side. That might be a little more difficult to find that first hole. So let's go ahead and pull this back a little bit. Let's clean that hole out with the needle. And then that way we can find those holes a little easier from the back side. Now that I've got this stitched across the top, I'm still going to hold this down here and keep it nice and snug because I don't want it to get a little bubble in it. And this is a pretty tight there's our first hole. This is a pretty tight, small triangle that I put my holes in. So I'll pull that snug, turn it over, put my second needle in from the opposite side. And obviously that's easy to go through because you see the hole on the other side and you're just putting it through the nylon, so it's not that difficult. It's the blind one here on the front that makes it a little more difficult. As you can see, it's not super bad though. It helps that the needle goes through that nylon pretty easy. So that does help quite a bit. And if you need, I always use these small needle nose if you need any help pulling your needle through there. Those work pretty good. I've only had a couple of times where I've busted the eyelet out of a needle doing that, but the needle was pretty worn even by the time I did bust it. So now we're down to the bottom here. The bottom hole at the point. And I just continue my saddle stitching front to back, back to front, and every stitch I'm snugging that down so it stays good and tight. Now I can work my way, I'm down to the bottom, now I can work my way back to the top. And I stick that through that nylon. You're kind of blind there, but I stick it through the nylon and then I just kind of work it around a little bit, and that needle will find that hole. No problem. Snug that down. I've got 2 more holes here and I'll be back to the top. I don't normally show the entire stitching process, but since this is 2 materials going together, it's something totally different, and it's a blind stitch pretty much on that front. Thought I'd go ahead and show how I was going to do it. Doesn't mean it's right, it just means that's how I'm going to do it. So now I'm back to my first hole that I started in, so I should be able to follow the thread on this side, put it through the same hole, and there's different ways you could end this or terminate it. I'm going to go ahead and lock stitch this, so I could terminate it right now and it'd be fine, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the back, I'm going to lock that in, that last stitch. Then I'm going to take my needle from the front and back it up 1 hole, if I can find the hole. Again, that sinew matches up so good with that nylon you can't even see the stitching in it. There we go. And then I'll pull that from the front to the back, and that locks it in even tighter. Now once I do that, I have both of my threads on the back here. I'll just go ahead and cut those off. Tie me a nice knot. Good and tight. Then I can cut that excess thread off. Or sinew. Take my lighter and I'll melt that waxed sinew, and then take my mallet and just flatten that out while it's still hot. So that pretty much hides that. It just flattens everything. That knot's flat now, so it doesn't even look like a knot. So that's going to be good and strong. It looks nice by going through this slot on the top. You notice I put it through the slot on the back, the underneath piece, so it looks good on the back and the front. So there's the first piece. Now I need to go ahead and do the bottom, and I think I'm going to do basically the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and make this, take both pieces through here, and you can do this differently and lock it in. The actual the way you thread this through here, but I am going to put it through like this, just one time, through from the back to the front and the front to the back, and then I'm going to measure that, and I want that to be right at 6 inches from my slot here to the top of my clip, and it is 6 inches, so that's perfect. So what I'll do is, now I want this to be extra heavy duty, so I am going to go ahead and take some more sinew, and I am going to take one needle, and I could do this on the machine, on a sewing machine, but I don't think I need to do that. I'm going to go from the back. I'm going to go right next to the clip. So I'm going to bring that needle right up next to that clip, pull that through, and I'm going to leave approximately 2 inches hanging out on the back. Then I'm going to do a straight stitch, come back through with my needle, just barely snug that down because I don't want to pull this through. You can hang on to that and snug it a little more. And I'm going about, maybe not quite 1/8 of an inch apart on my stitches. And I'm going through all 4 thicknesses of that nylon. So I'm just working that needle back and forth until it goes through all 4 pieces, because it does have openings or voids in there. I'm keeping that nice and snug. Now I'm to the end. I can go ahead and pull that through. Now, my thread I started with is down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back away from my latch about the same distance as I had my stitches apart, and I'm going to pull another stitch. Now I'm going to head back the other direction, way I came. Again, I'm working that needle to get through all 4 thicknesses of that nylon. It's not difficult, it just takes some patience. Now I've got enough stitches in here and they're pulled tight enough, I don't need to hold on to that anymore. I can pull pretty hard to snug those down. Now I'm back to the end. So I'll snug that down real good, and I need to get this thread back on top. So I'm just going to go basically right between that front and back row of stitches and pull that back through to the back. Now take my needle out, cut this off to about 2 inches, and I can go ahead and tie it off. I like using these tie off knots because to me it just makes it super strong, and the knot is not going to come out, especially if you terminate it by melting the waxed sinew and flattening that out. And that's what I'm going to do here, same as I did on the other one. So I'll take my lighter, heat that up, tap that down. You notice I'm not hitting it really hard. There's my termination knot. Probably can't even hardly see it in the camera. And there's the other side that's stitched. Can't even see the stitching. So nice, snug, double laced, triangle laced here. These, what I'm going to do there is come back, go about a 1/2 inch away from my stitching, come out, and I'm going to cut that off, both of them, because there's no reason to have that since I did it this way. And then I could just heat those up and that'll terminate those from fraying. And there's that piece finished. So that piece is done. Now we can go ahead and focus on the other end here of the snap. And let's go ahead and grab the other strap. And then we'll grab what it's going to go on here. Now there's 2 slots here underneath the carry handle. There's a slot here and a slot here, and that is on the frame. So it's going to be very strong. So I can put that through there like so. And I could actually do it the same way that I did this one to make it secure, so it's not going to slide out, slip off, or anything like that. And then I can make as many of these as I want for different type rifles. So again, we can do it to where these are slid through like so. You can terminate those or however you want to do it. Um, I just don't think I need these to be adjustable. Um, and I just don't, if I don't have that sling on, I want to make sure it's not going to be in the way of anything, which it doesn't look like it's going to be. So I think I'm going to go ahead and make this just like I did the other one. So I'll go ahead and stitch that. Since you already saw this one, I'll stitch that the same way, and then I'll be back. All right, so I've got this completed, just like the other, this one. That can stay on there. It'll make it real nice and quick, easy. And again, I can make as many of those as I want for others that I want to put it on. So there's that part. Now, the next part is we can set this aside. Then the next part is to do this. Well, we're going to have to size this now, the length, so that we get it the length that's going to work for me. So let's go ahead and move the camera, and then I'll come back. All right, so on these, they are stitched with a loop in them from the factory. And you can see it's heavy duty. I mean, they've got a zigzag stitch 2 different ways. I mean, that is not going to come off. So what I want to do is, and I have that on both ends, so I should be able to get 2 complete straps out of one of these. So what I want to do is, you can put this around like so. And then you can take this end and put it through this looped strap. And then what that's going to do is that's going to make that nice and tight and snug across your chest and your shoulder. So it's not going to move, just like a seatbelt. So the harder you would pull on this, the tighter that's going to snug up across your chest and your shoulder. So what I want to do is I want to put this in a position that when I hook this together with the snap, the quick release, I want to put this in a position that will hold this nice and snug. So I can stitch this right under this red line and actually put it on to here, and then stitch this together where it goes through. It doesn't have to hang on here. It can hang on this part. That'd be perfect. So underneath this red stitch line and right there. All right, so right there is where we want this to be stitched. So I think I'm going to leave it at an angle like that. And let's go ahead and get our sinew, and I think I'll just do a square. So I'll cut me a piece of the waxed sinew. Put my needles on. I'm going to go for the saddle stitch on this one. Make it a little tougher. And let's see how easy it is to get through. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thicknesses of this nylon, and it goes pretty much goes right through it. So not a big deal. Pull those where the needles match, and we'll take the second one, work it through so I can line up some of those holes. Snug that down. Then I'll take my back needle, go through that same hole, up to the front, and then just continue with my saddle stitch. Front to back, back to front. Again, once you get in a couple of stitches, you can snug them up real good. And then on the next one, I'll need to start going up so I can keep this belt, in there in the stitching. So we'll just go this direction. And again, I'm snugging each one of those stitches as soon as I complete it. So I'll go ahead, stitch this, and then I'll bring you back when I'm done. Alright, so I've got this stitched together, and I'm ready to heat this, melt the termination knot, flatten it out. So that's good. Now I'm ready to go ahead and double check this before I cut it or anything. I want to put it on, double check, make sure that everything's still going to fit the way I wanted it to. That looks good. So I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and cut this. I'm going to use my knife to cut this strap because it's pretty thick. And I'm going to leave just maybe 1/4 of an inch exposed. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I left 3/8, 1/4 inch exposed right there. Then I'll go ahead and melt that edge so it doesn't fray. You see I'm just using another piece of leather, just a scrap piece of leather to flatten that out as it heats up. So there's how that terminated. Now I need to put the piece that connects to the RA22A on here. So I'm going to place it like this at an angle so that it's pointing down straight while this is around my neck. So it is at a little more of an angle than straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pin and hopefully I'll be able to see a faint line on that nylon. And I'm just going to put a reference mark on there. And I can barely see where I marked that. So let's go ahead and put some stitching holes in this. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I don't have any reference line or anything in there. And you could score a line or whatever if you'd like. Then I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to follow that right back the other direction. Parallel about 1/4 to 3/8 away from my first line. And I think you can probably see that. Let me put something white behind it. but you could probably see those lines that I put my stitching marks or stitching holes in. Now, I'm going to look around the back side of this, and I'm going to actually clean those out from the back side so they'll be easier to get to with my needle as I come through the nylon. And all I'm doing is just cleaning them out from the back side. Again, just to make it easier to find with my needle. So there's my holes. I might want to put one more between there at the end when I come around this way, but I don't think I need to do that. So I'm going to skip that part. Again, this is the first time I've ever done this. I already tell you there's a couple of things I do differently, but so far so good. It's working, and I think it's going to work the way I want it to. It's just, trial and error as you do these things without watching someone else do it, never doing it before. It does make a difference. So, already learned a few things. So, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 links. Because I am going to do another saddle stitch here, so I go 4 times the total length, and that normally gives me the amount of sinew that I need. Put my needles in, and I'm sorry if I keep getting out of the picture. Alright, so what I could do is set this up on that reference line that you could just barely see, and I'm going to go through the leather, and then I'm going through 4 thicknesses of this nylon. So I may need these little curved needle nose, and it may be difficult to get this lined up going the other direction, but we're going to do the best we can. So I'm going to pull that one through, my second one. Now we can take this and we're going to see how difficult this is to find that hole on the back side of that leather, and not too difficult. Came right through, and all I did was follow my thread or my sinew from the other side. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. We'll see. Again, I'm going to lock in that first stitch. Now I can continue on down. I'll do the same thing I'll follow that stitch from the back side of the nylon and just followed it right through that hole. So looks like it's going to work just fine, even though it's going through all those thicknesses. I'll lock that in. I'll continue to stitch this. I'll bring you back when I'm getting ready to finish it. Alright, so I'm back down to the last stitch across from here to the top. So I'll go into that same hole that I started in, which is going to be a little more difficult since it was already going through that many thicknesses. So go down, I'll pull that needle through. Now, what I'm going to do is pull that tight on both sides, take my needles off. I'm going to go ahead and terminate that right there. It is going to be super strong, so I'm not concerned at all about how strong it's going to be. So I'm going to terminate that, cut that off. Do my melting, flatten that knot out. So there it is on that side finished. There it is on that side finished. It's got my maker's mark on it. So let's go ahead and try it out. I'll move you and we'll see how it's going to work. Alright, so I've got the large belt. It goes over my neck and my shoulder. It's stitched here, and it's stitched in a rectangle pattern. Then I've got my leather shield that I made attached, and it's stitched in a rectangle pattern through 4 thicknesses of that nylon. So, and it's saddle stitched. That's super strong. You can see I've got my maker's mark here. And let's go ahead and slip it on. It's easy to slip on. Pull it around to my chest. And again, the harder you pull, the more that pulls towards your chest and your shoulder. So that's nice and strong. And it's small, it's compact, it's lightweight. You could leave it on there all day, wouldn't bother you a bit. Wouldn't even know they have it on there. You get used to it. Now let's go ahead and take the RA22A and take this end that's on it and do the quick snap. There you can see it's about a foot and a half from the ground. So plenty high enough. This, if you didn't stitch these like I did, which that's one of the things I wouldn't do again, I'd leave them adjustable so I could take the slack up out of here and pull this up higher. But it's still very functional. And what's nice about it is being a single point like that is that you can see my hand. Let's see if I can get back here far enough. My hand is right there at the handle. If I put my hands to my side, it's right by the hand grip. so it's perfect as far as the length. So maybe I wouldn't shorten it up. So just trial and error and have to try it and see. But the main point of it is how quickly you can access and pull up. So it's not in the way. It's quick access. You're carrying it through the woods, whatever. You got quick access to it. If you want to switch it out or you want to take it off, release the clip, set it aside, and then all you have is the harness part. So it did turn out, it's easy to get on and off too, I like that. But it did turn out good. It didn't turn out great. There's some things I would probably do a little differently. But again, it was my first shot at it. So I'm pretty happy with it. And it's a way to use somebody, uh, one of my loyal viewers, thank you very much, commented on, you must have some great yard sales around your area, because I'm always talking about the stuff I pick up for my projects here on these videos at yard sales. And I told him, I said, I do. And that's where I got these. I got 6 of these heavy-duty nylon seat belts is what I call them. But I've got enough of that one left over to make another harness. So, and that's just one. I bought 6 of them. And I think they're brand new, and I think I gave maybe $3, so 50 cents a piece. And they're just great for doing utility stuff. So I appreciate you coming along. Appreciate you watching. This is going to be handy for me to use. So I'm glad I went ahead and made it. But again, if I make another one, I'll probably tweak a couple of things on it. So, but I'm happy with this one. It'll work. So appreciate you coming along and watching. And as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.